On every part of our journey, there's a threshold. I'm seeing a doorway. To the side of the path that we're on collectively. That recreates itself at every step. And there's no mistake about why we are on the path we are on. The road is made of decisions. A lot of decisions, and decisions in response to those decisions. And we've built collectively a road that has begun to say the same tale, the same story, kind of homogenized path of conquest and colonization, to the point that we are all eating, or invited to eat, the same poison. Drink the same poison. Take the same drugs. Distract ourselves from the utterances of the natural worlds. Distract ourselves from the heterogeneous nature of nature, entranced, ensorcelled, into a kind of consciousness that could champion AI in its separateness from the organic. We're on a mental pathway that's a cycle, a circle, round and round in conquest. And getting what we can, and mostly just trying to survive, but surviving on the poisons that are handed to us. The doorway, the thresholds I'm seeing as arched thresholds, blinking with every step we take to the left or right, always available for exit from this circuit that we're on. One of the things that I'm seeing that keeps people on the circuit of distraction and status quo and upholding this hideous thrashing, collapsing behemoth of modern life is that people try and hold the suffering of the world in these really big ways that feel so heavy that we can't possibly change them, or we have an invitation to, on the personal, make a small movement, which usually requires that we act or behave differently than we have towards one another. But usually that requires a certain level of breaking social contract so people will stay on the circuit. So things get too personal and scary in the one way, or they just feel so heavy that we fall asleep in the sweet lullaby of living in the belly of the beast with all of its privilege. You don't have to think about any of it. If you're not suffering, at least here in the Western world, you can just nestle into your privileges. You don't have to be aware of it. But that keeps us on this circuit where we will experience the same old story. An empire collapses, a new empire is born. So these thresholds are opportunities to derail. What are these thresholds for you? Do you feel their nudge? Usually it's a nudge to break a social contract, to break a law in the name of good. In the name of the well-being of people, of all beings, of those who are suffering. One of these thresholds might be just a statement of truth to a group of people who have an unspoken agreement to stay in some kind of trance of untruth. It might look like leaving some aspect of empire, like institutions of marriage or certain jobs. And we can feel the nudge And then usually we feel the ghosts who have been trapped within the circuit of empire, colonization. And those ghosts don't know anything else. They're on the circuit for eternity, and they have died in the disillusioned comfort, the false security of this predictable pattern. So you feel the nudge to walk through the thresholds that take us elsewhere, that take us somewhere else. And those ghosts pop up in the form of fear or jealousy or greed or anger. And they scare us back onto the track. When in fact, every time that we choose to walk through those thresholds that take us to new behaviors and new spaces and new ways of relating, new ways of perceiving, we actually psychopomp those ghosts that pop up. We can take them through, thereby liberating them from this circuit. So I encourage you to notice those thresholds, those nudges. It might be as simple as rescuing an animal that's stuck somewhere. It might be noticing and feeding someone who's hungry, or a person on the street who's having difficulty. It might look like saying hello to your neighbor that you haven't ever really met. It might be liberating yourself from a line of work that feeds the beast, that feeds the circuit. It might be lowering your overhead so that you are less tethered. Less dependent on the support from systems that are creating mass suffering. It might be sharing your money. It might be going to a protest. It might be, etc., etc. But you'll know it when it comes in your path, because you'll feel the ghosts kick up. And when you feel them, can you still stay the course of going off the circuit, knowing that you are trailing a train of light, that anything connected to you in that moment is also being liberated?